Well, you made it clear in there that taking a step back to take a step forward. How hard was that? Who had to get on board with that, and just how'd that happen?
I could tell it was not made in one night, and that, one of the things I think we'd like to do as an organization is we put everything up on the board, and we're not a data-driven organization. It's just not data, right? We looked at some of the teams that have really drafted well, and now that they're a pretty good team, you look at the Memphises, the teams like that have, built, and now they're going to be powerhouses for the next couple of years. And so I think the thing that came from what we looked at in our studies is there's no quick fix. There's no quick fix. We can't make a trade or 2 trades or 3 trades or use our draft picks and become what we want to become, which is great. So how do you do it then? You got to pay your dues, and you got to get everybody on board, and that takes multiple meetings, and it has to take real conviction from your head coach, your president, your GM, and your owner. And Mr. Simon's 100% on this. It can't be easy. No one wants to walk in and think rebuild, and I hate that word because we have some players that we really like and we can build around. So it's going to take some time. We're going to enjoy the heck out of it, and we're going to build this team back up to make it a really special team with guys that have true character, that want to have deep roots in this community. I think that is something we've talked about. How do you do that? I mean, at the end of the day, drafting, developing relationships is your best recipe for high-level talent, high-level characters, and the ability to keep players for a long time. I don't think that's a secret to this.
Infusing the youth you did into the roster over the last few months, what's the energy just been like in the building, having all these young guys come in and don't really know any better in the league yet, but that energy where they're just giddy and excited and ready for what's next?
We are giddy. It's interesting because when we're watching the preseason games, the workouts, the pickup games, and you throw them out there and you let them play, what you find out is, Tyrese, TJ McConnell, and Nimhart are really fast players, and everybody kind of fills in. And there have been times where I've been awed about how fast our team is, which that's young legs, right? That's young, exciting legs. We've seen more plays at the rim where it's a block dunk, sprint down, dunk on someone. We've had more alley-oops. I think Chad Buchanan was joking with me the other day about 3 or 4 years ago, I think we had 2 lob dunks in the whole year. We had 10 today. The league's getting more athletic. A couple years ago, we decided, hey, we're going to look at this draft and trades. Let's get some of these athletes because they're fun to watch. Balancing that with what Coach Carlisle loves shooting. So if you can find a great athlete that is a great shooter, I'm all in.
Would you like to play Tyrese, Chris, and Ben together right off the bat and let Buddy go crazy in the second unit, or are you still...
You're asking a coaching question?
Yeah.
And I try to stay out of a Hall of Fame coach's ear. But I would say this, we're going to have really good battles in practice. And that's going to be must-see TV. Like, I got a little giddy the other night because I went to bed, and right before I went to bed, I'm like, okay, who's going to guard who, and how's that going to look? We have a couple of rookies that aren't afraid. Like, they're not afraid of this. And one of the things when you draft a guy, you try to figure out getting on the court and being in awe of everybody. We have a couple rookies, they're not there yet. They're ready to get after it, and that's fun to watch. But they got to learn the game. This game, the more it's getting more complicated. It looks like it's just pickup. And I'm telling you guys, if you really study, flow game and then making quick reads is super complex. It's not like, it looks like the Y game at times. It's not. It's really not. What it really is turning into is one action, quick, and make 4 reads. And that 4 reads turns into a layup or wide open 3. And the data now says wide open 3, corner, wide open layup, corner 3, free throw. Like those are the high probability, but you still got to be able to do other things too, you know. So as much as coach is into that, I think we want to play. But the point is, we're after athletes, we're after guys who can really know how to play, and shooting is a premium in this league right now. And so we have some of those, and we're going to try to acquire more.
With the younger guys you acquired mid-season last year, is there anything you think you can learn having them together for a full year, seeing them over a more extended period?
Well, I'll tell you this, that getting Jalen back and getting him in the gym, I mean, seeing him, the more and more we see him, the more and more we're like, we really got something. And man, to Coach's credit, to Coach Carlisle's credit, we thought that was a 10% chance. But getting him back in, getting the guys we traded from Boston, Nesmith, he's looked good. He's competing really, and he's a former lottery pick. That's what we got to do right now. We got to be able to capitalize on cap space, on picks, in any way we can. We got to be gritty as a staff of, can we acquire more of those to have a chance to be part of our big core? And we're developing a core. People ask me all the time, do you have a core? Yeah, maybe not. But we're getting closer. And next year we'll be closer. And that's a fun part of our business, is being creative and generating ideas and grabbing a first-round pick here. Look, we have 3 first-round picks, it looks like, next year. We have close to $30 million in cap space. And we'll be active to use that cap space to acquire more assets. That's just natural. But what it gives us is the ability to pivot in a lot of different ways. We have optionality out there, but and at the end of the day, I want to be able to sit on in the room with Herb and the management and coach and say, all right, here's our possibilities. Where do we want to go? In the past, it's been, we got to go down this path. This is the path we got to go down. It's only going to get us so far. We know it's only going to so far. There's a freaking ceiling. What I want to do is remove a ceiling, and that takes time. It's going to take time.
How you mentioned building the team, like fast paced, and there's 4 reads. It sounds like it's just like Tyrese. Like what is like building a team around him?
TJ McConnell is important to what we do, because TJ it starts with Tyrese. Don't get me wrong, and his ability to make plays for others. I'll say this, and this is a little bit different topic, but what we noticed this offseason by having Tyrese and having players say, I really like playing with that, I think that was a big decision in Jalen. I think Miles is really looking forward to playing with Tyrese. The league is changing that. The point guard position has turned into like score first, then maybe I pass. Well, Tyrese is unique. He'd rather pass than, and it's like being a quarterback. If you got a great quarterback that's hitting you in the chest every time, he is that. He's far, and we've got to build around that, and he's got to build us. And there's going to be games where he's going to look amazing, and he's going to get 15 assists, and we're going to need him to do a lot of things. We're going to ask a lot, but we're not going to put too much. I've seen where teams put too much on players. It's going to be collective with our young players and our vets. And, the good thing, a lot of players are going to play this year. You're going to see more athletic plays, and we're going to play harder than we've ever played. From what I've seen so far, it's easy to stand up here and say it. I want to be about actions. I think we're going to be a super hard playing team, and I think, you'll see a lot of growth.
Someone who's kind of falling under the radar a little bit, Isaiah Jackson. It just seems like he's like a multiple ball clay with his athleticism. I heard a little bit that he's making some huge strides as well. Just what's it been like watching Isaiah develop over the last few months?
One of the things that we pushed Isaiah this summer is he needed to get his strength up. He needed to get his body weight up, and I think he's gained like 18, 15 pounds. It kind of fluctuates between day to day, but I'd be really shocked if he didn't have a huge breakout year. I really would be. He's got elite athleticism. He makes plays in the gym where the gym stops. Like what did he just? And it's usually when he's made a shot or somebody else's shot, and then he jumps and hits it, and then it's his second and third jump before anybody gets up. And quite frankly, I've never seen it. I've never seen it. I thought Kenneth Faried, remember Kenneth Faried, was a little like that. I've never seen it like this.
What about KG? Is there a flash of KG in there?
Boy, if he's KG, then
I know.
I like your optimism.
Look at KG's
Yeah,
numbers.
he's going to be KG.
Look at KG's numbers his first year. I mean,
I've never done
there's
that.
a similar.
Is that right?
I mean, that's crazy. Are you gonna be healthy going into camp? Anything? Everybody.
Knock on wood, we're as healthy as we've been. Yeah, everybody seems to be in good. We've got little stuff like little bumps and bruises, but no, I think we're going to be pretty healthy.
Quickly on Miles, you've had different players handle trade stuff differently here
Of course.
in your trade in your tenure. What would you say about he's here, he's committed, and what that means to someone like you?
Well, all you have to do is read his Instagram and see he tweeted a heart and a
What's up, man?
prayer and a heart. So doesn't that answer it?
Blue and gold heart.
Yeah, blue and gold heart. Look, let's talk about trades, okay? I'm a big believer in not talking about players' names in trades, okay? I had a situation when I was traded from the Vancouver Grizzlies to the Orlando Magic about 100 years ago, and I found out from the media. And so when Chad and I decided to took over, we got in a room with Thad Young and Darren Collison. And we said, so we want to be about players. This organization is going to be about players. What's the one thing you really want? And it's, we want to know first. And so that puts me in a little bit of a challenging position. But if we're going to err, it's always going to be communicating with the player. And, so I'll bring it to Miles. I sat down and talked with Miles for an hour and a half the other day. It was a heart-to-heart. I don't want to tell you exactly what was said, but I'll give you the crux, and that is, I think he's super excited about playing with Tyrese. I think he wants to play the 5 exclusively. I think he wants to be a defensive monster, and I think that he's okay planting deep roots here. But he's going to be a free agent next year, and there's a lot of things can happen. What we think today isn't something we know is going to happen tomorrow. This is the most dynamic business in the world. And I remember talking to, believe it or not, Jerry West, and he goes, I want to tell you something. This is early in my career. And he said, I want to tell you something. There's only one player that can't be traded. I said, I wonder who that is. He said, the best player. That's the only guy that really doesn't get traded, right? Everybody, and if you're a good player, you kind of want to be talked about. If you're not talked about, you're not really too interesting, right? You're not, but it's part of the business. It's a way we can potentially make our teams better is through trades. I think we've done a decent job over the past few years. One of the things that I think that we really try to do is once we trade, we're not really an in-team trade. We haven't been. Let's just put it that way. And there's a reason. Because I guess I feel for players have to move during the season. If I'm perfectly honest. Like, if it's 50-50, like let's do the trade and it kind of comes down to 50-50 in the room, usually we don't do it. It's got to be something where we're like, no brainer, let's do it, and let's be perfectly clear with the player.
So is Miles talking with you? Have y'all had a conversation about extension, and then you just know it's just not going to happen where y'all are?
Respectfully, I'd like to keep that between me and him.
Okay. Has Jalen gained weight? Do you need to?
Maybe a little bit. I think he was up like 4 or 5 pounds, but he'll take that back off during that.
Okay.
Expecting big things from him.
You talked in February about the boat.
changing direction
Right,
in water.
right.
How would you describe that direction now, and how does that set your expectations for this coming year?
I would say back then we were a huge, what were the boats the planes take off of? Yeah, we were an aircraft carrier, and it was like really hard to turn. And right now we're a little speedboat, and we've got all these ways to maneuver, and that's exciting. That's really exciting for us because it's hard to turn the big boats, and for for better, we're all in. And look, you have to be all in on these, because what's going to happen is if we don't have as many wins at the end, we're gonna look at this team like how many wins. It'll be like, are we making progress? Are we getting better? Are we seeing our young players getting better? Because at the end of the year, if they are, the whole league takes notice, and free agency becomes a little better. You become more of a destination. Memphis is a great example. Memphis is going to be a destination for some great players coming forward. We're going to have to compete with that. How do we compete with that? We're going to have a lot of joy in our organization, and our guys got to get better and show that they're worthy of playing with some of the top players. We can do that. We can do that.
What were the few days around the DeAndre Ayton offer sheet and the Suns matching like for you guys having to go through all that and negotiate it? Ultimately not end up with it.
I think my message would be, we're not stodgy Pacers anymore, and we're willing to use all our opportunities to go get high-level talent. And when we decided to do that, we handicapped it, and it was a low handicap. We knew it, but there was a chance. Like the Dumb and Dumber, they're saying there's a chance.
Boy.
That's right. So there was a chance. There was a chance, but we knew it was an outside chance. But we wanted it to happen, and we would have made, other moves around it.
You touched on this, saying saying you want to see development, but what would have to happen this year for at the end of the season you to look back and say this was a successful season? What are you trying to get?
I think that's a great question. I think number one, we stay together. That we play as hard at the first game as we did on the last game, and that every single month I can look at the stats and hardcore look at it and go, you know what, Ben got better. And maybe not stats. Maybe that's not the way, because stats lie. Stats lie in this business. But if we're getting better, we're having a lot of fun, and we want to have some wins. We're not going in this to dump. Like we want to compete every single night. Lay the cards where they are. Everybody's already talking about the draft. The draft, they stack the odds. It's flat now. It's like the 7th and the 10th and the 2nd. It's not as big and dramatic rises. So we're going to let the cards fall where they may. And if we play hard, if we're the hardest playing team and we're getting better, and we play with a lot of joy, have a lot of fun out there, then I will be happy, 100%.
There's obvious excitement around Chris Duarte, and maybe from a national level, he kind of went under the radar after his injury last year, post All-Star break. But what have you seen from him this year as far as growth and now the expectations on his shoulders?
The big thing was his toe. His toe was real. He's 100%, closest to 100% as you can with the toe. But I would say this: he's been really impressive, and it's just not me saying that. Like I'm hearing from a lot of players, like he's different. He's maturing. He's different. He's playing together. He's making shots. I think I saw it very quick in summer league, and that's why he only played one game. I mean, it was like he was playing a different game than everybody else, and he was playing with pace, and the game was slower to him, and so it was like, no more. We get it.
You had to take some chances probably on players that were injury prone in the past, but as you evaluate now and looking forward, is durability, is injury history something you have to be even more cognizant of? And because you're taking a long-term approach, that part of the evaluation?
Of course. I think we have to. It's not 100% foolproof that if a player has been healthy, that he's going to be healthy in the future. Then again, we're all seduced by talent. And if you look at some of these draft guys coming up, I mean, this draft is deep. It's 7, 8 deep. Now there's maybe one guy out there that's kind of unique, and Again, we're seduced by talent, but we have to. It's part of the big equations. Like when we look at players now, it's amazing what we know. More now than ever. We know their health. We know their analytics. We know what their brother's cousin's friend says about them. I mean, literally, we build profiles around a player that's 50 pages long. And our scouts just deep dive. And so we know players. And it's part of the big picture of how we look. But, we've had some bad breaks with PG and with Victor, and it caused us some, consternation. But, hey, this league is tough. You got to be tough. You got to have grit in this league.
Guys, thank you. Oh, Matt, do you have one more?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the last one.
You talk about not managing in the middle anymore. How does that change the way you think and approach every decision you make from a roster building perspective?
Well, I think if you start with that at the top, right? Like, I was reading about China. China looks at their community in 100-year increments, right? We've been looking at 1 and 2, and now we're looking at 3 and 4. So what does that do? That says, okay, maybe we don't do this, but we can do this because in 3 or 4 years we think that player is going to be. So it skews younger, the tens, but it doesn't have to be totally young, and we don't have to totally bottom out. There's combinations. Again, what I would tell you is, I'm excited because we have optionality. Cap space gives you some unique things. Having multiple picks, I'd like to have about 10 more, but we'll be opportunistic to use those.